Hello and welcome to the Story Behind the Stories, your weekly look at the pages of the Neepawa Banner Press. Thank you very much for taking a little bit of your time and spending it here with us on NACTV. I'm Eoin Devereux, journalist with the Banner Press, welcoming you to the show this week. Joined this week by fellow journalist Casper Wehrhahn. Casper, good to have you here this week.
Good to be here and excited to go through another edition of the paper.
Turned out to be a pretty good edition of the paper, although we must admit it was a little hairy there for a time there because we had some open space that we didn't have anything to put into it. But fortunately, over the last couple hours, just before we hit our deadline, a couple things came through for us and we were able to get that information onto the page and out to you. Let's talk about one of the items we were able to get early on in the week, although we have been chasing this one for a little while. It's about a flight simulator creating an amazing experience for our local air cadets. Now, Casper, you were able to get this finalized when it was all said and done, but I think this is something Ken was trying to chase down initially.
It was initially, yeah, and it just so happened that this event was set for the Saturday, February 16th, and I was around, so I was like, hey, I'll run down there, I can take some photos and perhaps get some quotes really quickly before I have to head out for the day. So I went down there, I took a look at everything. There were cadets from Neepawa, of course, Strathclair and Russell as well. And there were a variety of stations that they were all participating in that they rotated through, including this flight simulator. And it was pretty neat to take a look at there. We have a great photo of that on the front page. Pat myself on the back a little bit for that one. I was really happy with that one. And it gives you a little bit of a look at what they were working with there. I mean, they have the controls, as I assume it appears in an airplane. I've never been in one in the cockpit anyway. And some throttles there and everything is pretty neat, pretty high tech, especially for a portable version like this. I'm assuming there's some other different versions you could look at too that would take up some more floor space and be a bit higher tech there that way. But this is a pretty neat piece of technology that they can kind of take anywhere to different legions or schools or whatever and showcase a bit of that or get some more training days like this in there. So Neepawa is taking a look at getting its own flight simulator, much like the one that was at the training day there. And I think it'd be pretty beneficial for them.
It is kind of interesting because that's a part of it. I mean, the local air cadets want to get some of that experience, and quite honestly, this is one of the most efficient ways for them to be able to do something like that in a community such as ours. So it was really kind of fascinating reading through this and just sort of, and again, I shouldn't say just for us as well. There's other cadets, as Casper says in the story there, and here is that Strathclair and Russell as well. So this is just one of those regional things that all the cadets are going to be able to experience, and it looks like it was a very good experience overall.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, just watching there, and of course having talked to a few of the cadets that were there, they really were having a lot of fun with it. Of course, they were learning a lot too, but they were having a great time with everything that was there. And flight simulators, it turns out, are kind of a rare experience. So it was pretty awesome for them to be able to have that technology within reach and being able to use it. And actually, one of the cadets who has used flight simulators a couple times before said it's a pretty good, it gives you a pretty good feel for how sensitive things can actually be when you're piloting. So that was pretty neat to hear.
All right, if you're interested in that, you can find it, of course, on the front page of this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner Press, and you can find it carries over onto page 10 of this week's edition. Now, if you're not able to pick up a physical copy, always remember that a version of our weekly newspaper will be appearing live online on mywestman.ca. Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, it should be popping up there. So if you're unable to get a physical copy in or around Neepawa, you can always check it out at mywestman.ca. Now that's a story that we knew about. They contacted us, they informed us about some of the details, and we were able to chase down. We had a little bit of leeway in front of that, as it were. The next couple stories we're going to talk about, we had no sort of prep time on this whatsoever. It was in the moment action type sorts of things. But we do appreciate still being able to track down this information and get it to you. The first had to do with the recent storm that passed through the Westman region. It hit Neepawa as well last Wednesday, Thursday. Wasn't quite as bad as it could have been, quite honestly, in terms of the amount of snow received. But you got to remember what came before all that snow was rain. We actually had scattered showers, some sleet, that type of weather that hit Neepawa and the surrounding area. And of course, when you get water, when it gets cold, you get ice. So that's what happened. We were able to track down this story. You can find it on page 2 of this week's edition of the paper. Created a little bit of chaos near Neepawa. Most specifically, the road on the east side of Neepawa, you know, on the hill, as you're coming in from Portage, Gladstone, that area there, and you pass over, you pass the golf course turnoff, and you start heading up the hill, you know, that portion. That obviously was a little bit icy. And if you don't have the right amount of momentum, then you're not going to get up the hill. And that's exactly what happened to a few vehicles, apparently. They just didn't have the momentum to make it happen. The fortunate thing is it didn't turn into anything extremely dangerous. It was just a little scary, a little white knuckle for a few of these drivers that weren't able to get up the hill. Because once you're not able to get up there, you're not going to be able to build up that momentum to sort of get up there. And that turned into an issue. So it was around Thursday, if I remember correctly, in and around 9 o'clock. The Neepawa Fire Department got the call of a situation breaking out on that portion of the hill on the highway, the Yellowhead Highway. They went down there. They were able to get some of these vehicles down and cleared. They were able to get some of these vehicles onto a different route. They ended up moving them over to Broadway and up onto Hamilton, which I guess was a little bit easier for them. They had to call highways. They had to call Rob Smith and Sons, who does a lot of the snow clearing for a good portion of our community out there, to clear and to salt it down and to get it going. That was about a good hour of work that was happening out there. And you can find a picture of that on page 2 of this week's edition of the storm that struck on Thursday the 8th and some of the after effects of what that caused. I've had that experience from time to time. There was one time actually, Casper, this is kind of interesting. When I was took some vacation time in 2024, at the start of the year, I took an extra week off. And I went into Winnipeg for a day and was visiting with some friends, did a little shopping. As I was coming back, Winnipeg was nice. It was nice and sunny. Nothing to complain about. And then about 10, 15 kilometers, maybe a little more, no more than 20 though, away from Neepawa, it just got dark, it just got cloudy, and it just got slippery. So I was going from about 100 kilometers an hour, which was fine for the conditions, to about 60 kilometers an hour on that last portion. And I do remember coming up to the hill on the east end and thinking, I really hope there's enough to get up this hill. I genuinely do, because when I bought my vehicle about 10 years ago, I didn't buy a 4x4 because I lived in a city and it was a flat surface. So I didn't think I'd need it, to be quite honest. Hindsight's 2020. And now I live in Neepawa and I live on a street that has a slight incline. And at least once a year, if they don't clear the street, I will sort of just slide slowly down the hill and have to get some momentum to get back up there. So that's what happened there, and it was on that exact same spot. And you didn't want to speed to go to 100 because, again, it was so icy. I just felt like from time to time, it's like, okay, this is starting to, I better slow back down to 40.
Yeah, let's not push it.
Yeah. So I can sort of say from kind of an experience what they probably went through with that. But fortunately, there was nothing major that occurred, and there were no serious injuries or anything like that occurred from that, and they were able to get it going. But that's the situation we run into every winter, isn't it?
For sure, yeah. A different car at the time, but I was out practice driving at this time, I believe, with one of my parents, and we were just like touring around the neighborhood, and it was winter. It happened to be winter too, and I think we had somewhat similar conditions. Obviously, it didn't get as warm previously as we've had this winter, but there was in town. It was a different hill, and I don't remember too clearly, but we were the only ones out there, so it's fine that way. But we were trying to go up the hill, and I guess didn't have quite enough oomph to begin with, and then it's just like, oh, the car doesn't want to move. Okay, nobody behind us, we'll back down the hill, try again. But you know, that's just the sort of thing that you tend to run into in winters, and well, if it can happen and not have anything come out of it, that's is detrimental, then that's fine.
you got a fun story to tell later on.
Yep.
Now you can find that fun story as well on page 2 of this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner Press. The other story I wanted to talk about is a story, but not really a story. It's got a kind of interesting little sort of background to it. You can see it on page 8 of this week's edition. Investigation underway into a local robbery. I received a tip a few days ago about an alleged incident that may have occurred. Now, you're hearing the words alleged and may have and whatnot. You're going to be hearing that a lot over the next couple minutes because details are still sketchy and the investigation is still ongoing about an alleged robbery that occurred at one of our local businesses. Supposedly it occurred at the Subway. We cannot confirm, no one has confirmed that to us, other than to say that there is an investigation on the go right now. That we can go forward with, that we can confirm. So we talk about it because when it comes to news like this, one of the most important things about news is new. It has to be something that's happening within the moment relative to the community. I mean, we talk about things that are a couple days old or a week old, but once you get to about a month or 2 months old, what are we doing here? We did contact the proper authorities to get some information. All they could confirm to us was that they were in the midst of an investigation into what we were talking about. They didn't want to share anything else with us, nor should they. I mean, these types of things you have to be very careful with. You have to ensure that everything is done, all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. I will say, it is a touch frustrating from time to time, and this is not NACTV, and this is not the Neepawa Banner Press talking, this is just myself. My experiences over the years with, let's say, Brandon Police, or Portage Prairie RCMP, or anything like that, or Swan Valley RCMP as well, there's a little more avenue of communication, readily avenue of communication between the public and the police there. So it's a quicker channel, as it were. But I understand it's a difficult job, and you have to be very careful about these sorts of things. So I don't want to lay blame there. It's just my experiences with other police departments has been a little bit different. But the most important thing is sort of justice and bringing individuals who do wrong to justice, as it were. So if it takes a few extra days or whatnot, then so be it. Having said that, a couple hours after we wrote this story, I remember receiving a email from Portage Prairie RCMP about a weapons thing that occurred. We didn't report on it because it's not within our readership area. And then Dauphin the next day sent us something about weapons and whatnot at a gas station. We didn't put it in there because it was past our deadline, and again, not within our readership. But it's kind of interesting to see Portage and to see Dauphin, getting back to us on that. But
for sure, yeah.
Maybe I've said too much already. That's just the little hems and haws and whatnot that we run into. There's allegedly been a robbery that occurred. There's hearsay going through that there may have been an assault involved as well. We cannot confirm those details at this time. We do share that there is talk through the community that may have occurred, but we cannot confirm at this time. I want to be very clear on that as the investigation continues to move forward. So that's about it. All I've got. I've got myself into enough trouble, perhaps, on that. Unless you want to chime in with anything on that, Casper.
I don't think I really have anything to add, but I mean, it's definitely something that we'll be keeping watch for further details on. Of course, we want to share as much as we can with the people in the area that read the paper and get the news out to everyone in a timely fashion as much as possible. So, yeah.
And once again, we hope to have an update for you in the near future. All right, let's talk about some more positives about businesses as opposed to people stealing stuff from them. Let's talk about the opening of some new businesses in and around our readership area. Casper, you got a very interesting story about this new endeavor happening out in Carberry.
Yeah.
Or Glad, because we actually got, Gladstone, right?
No, I believe it's Carberry.
It's Carberry, because we got a couple stories here about a couple different businesses. I just wanted to... Okay, Carberry, right? Oh, yeah, there's two stories about two businesses in Carberry. So, double Carberry.
Yeah. But, getting things from as wide an area as we do, it's just like, is this here or is this there? Now I have to go back and double check.
Yeah. Sorry to cut in. You know what I was thinking of right there, actually, was that we are chasing down another story right now about a new business in Gladstone. Apparently some sort of restaurant type thing. So we're chasing that down right now. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and then of course there was, we have some photos in the paper. It's not on our list here, but we have some photos in the paper this week as well on the Galloway in Gladstone. So that's part of it too, I'm sure. Yeah. But circling back around into Carberry, we do have the new business that's open there, Bar 66 Tack and Trade, and that's sort of open in partnership with Candy's Cottage as well. That's run by Shelley Unger and Candy McLeod. It sounds like they have a variety of different stuff there. I mean, you've got some tack things, obviously, consignment items, animal feed. But then it sounds like they have a little bit of clothing, like cowboy boots and homemade vanilla, I believe it was.
That was what interested me, because, homemade like that, it does have the, have you ever had that home style sort of vanilla before?
Not vanilla, no. Oh, I've never.
Oh, you got to try it. It's just, when it's done right, it's just, oh my God.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting. Sounds like they had a warm welcome so far. They had their opening day on February 9th, so right after I had held the interview with them. I think it was the Monday right after that. I can't remember what day February 9th is off the top of my head anymore. But it was right after their opening day, basically, that they sent me some answers there to my questions. And I wish them the best of luck. It sounds like it's going well so far, and I hope it continues to.
That's right. You can find that story in this week's paper. And you can also find the other story I was thinking of as well, the Spruce and Spud thrift store in Carberry. Jolene, our local journalism initiative reporter, was able to get that story for us, and she was able to share that with us. You can find that on page 8 of this week's paper. So things are going pretty good for Carberry. It's really nice to hear sort of that these smaller communities are getting that type of commerce coming in and seeing the value within a small town like that.
Absolutely, for sure. I've commented on this before, I think, but it's just great to see communities like this, as you said, get new things coming in and continuing to grow. I like seeing communities like that thrive and flourish. So kudos to Carberry, and I hope to see more in the future. And
again, we're definitely going on a business trip right now, because there's another story we're going to be talking about our local business, our local theater, but we might as well chime in on this as well. You can see it on page 2. It's just a couple pictures and it's a cut line talking about a business that is well entrenched and established here. Roder's Bakery and Pizzeria. We all know it's been over in the building that used to be, way back in the day, used to be a 7-Eleven. It's before your time. It's before my time, actually, as well. But that used to be a 7-Eleven, and it's They've been there for a couple years now, but they are planning on moving. They are shifting over into the old home hardware building. They sent out a social media post explaining they would be shutting down as of the 15th of February and opening up in their new area. So we don't know just yet when they're going to be opening up in their new location, but most definitely we're going to be following up on that when the time does arrive. So I just wanted to sort of share that since we're in a business commerce sort of feel right now. Let's talk about some more stuff in the paper. This is a story I got lead from Kate Jackman Atkinson. Thank you very much, Kate, for sharing that information with us. The Rotary Theatre, of course, volunteer-operated, volunteer-run movie theater, is going to be running a very special international film from Philippines that's going to be, I'm sure, going to be extremely popular. The name of the film is Rewind, and it's described as a science fiction romance drama. So they're covering all the bases there, aren't they? And it's apparently the biggest film in Philippines cinema history. Cinema history. It is the largest domestic film ever, and is the third largest release in their movie theaters ever. A couple American films, I think Avengers. I think the Avengers films are first and second.
I believe so, yeah.
And then Rewind is third, so that's pretty good company. They're doing all right there.
Yeah, they're doing really good. And it certainly sounds interesting. And I hope this goes over well, because to my understanding, the previous film that they had come to the Roxy Theater that was also a Filipino film, I think it was called Partners in Crime. It sounds like that went over pretty well as well. And I actually had been intending to go to that one, but I just unfortunately just didn't end up going to the Roxy Theater when it was showing. But yeah, it sounds great, this film that they have coming in again. And I hope everyone enjoys it.
That's right. Kate feels very optimistic about that. Partners in Crime came out a couple years ago, and it did well for them. But it was sort of a very specific genre type. And Kate feels that this one here, first off, because it is the biggest film in Filipino history, that's obviously an advantage for them. But also, it's multi-genre. It has a little bit of something for everyone. So Kate and the rest of the volunteer board with the Roxy are feeling pretty optimistic. This is going to hit all the markers, as it were, for people. Whether you like sci-fi, whether you like romance, whether you like drama, whatever. And don't worry. I mean, this isn't just built towards our Filipino community here in Neepawa. There's also going to be English subtitles on there. So if you're interested, if you don't speak the language, don't be intimidated by that, because you can still go down there. There'll be subtitles, and you'll be able to follow along with this epic story as it progresses. So I have a feeling it's going to go over very well. I think it's going to be like a little mini blockbuster right here for Neepawa. So hopefully they do have that success, because I'd love to see them do things like this moving forward. I think it would really do well. When you're an independent theater like this, you can't depend on the big blockbusters being there the first week. So you've got to think outside the box. You've got to come up with innovative concepts and ideas to keep the doors open. I think this is going to be one of them.
Yeah, definitely. I'd certainly love to see more of it as well. And I mean, bring in different films that, are perhaps in a different language, but have those subtitles. I mean, that can really diversify things for what you're showing, and add to, get in some more different cultural perspectives as well, which is always awesome, I feel.
That's right. It's going to be showing at the Roxy Theatre. Going to do a little plug for the Roxy now on the 16th and 17th of February. You can get your tickets about 45 minutes before showtime. So if you want to check it out, definitely take the opportunity and see it for yourself. All right, let's talk a bit about the weekend ahead. We're talking about some of the movies that are going to be going on. Let's talk about some of the activities that are going to be going on in leading into Louis Riel Day, which is going to be on Monday. But on Sunday, Neepawa is really going to be doing something kind of interesting. Their annual winter festival is going to be going on, and they're going to have all the favorites, the sleigh rides, the bonfires, all those sorts of things. Weather permitting, hopefully they'll be able to do a public skate out on the ice in the flats. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll find out how the weekend plays out. But they're going to have some new festivities as well. They're going to be having a glow-in-the-dark trail adventure through the Trans-Canada Trail, just right there next to the flats, which is going to be, from the sounds of it, going to be kind of interesting to sort of experience. They're going to have all these little glow-in-the-dark sort of sticks and little mechanisms that are going to make it a really interesting experience. It's going to be opening up on Sunday evening around 6 o'clock, just as you're starting to hit that dusk. It's going to be going on from 6 to about 8, so you're going to be able to experience it all the way into the darkness, as it were. And then right at 8 o'clock, we're going to be having some fireworks that are going to be going on down in the flats. Now, it's not going to be as big as what we normally have with the Canada Day festivities, but it's still going to be about a 6 to 8 minute sort of fireworks display with a slightly lower elevation. So it's going to be visually, it's going to be so dynamic. So I hope that people go out there and experience it. I had a chance to speak with Nicole Cooper for the town of Neepawa, the recreation manager, and she talked about they wanted to try something a little bit different with this experience, and they felt like moving it to Sunday as well would open things up much more for families to be able to go. Because doing something like the fireworks on the Monday evening, you take Tuesday, you got to get the kids to school, you got to get up early, it just turns into a whole thing. If we do it Sunday, that way you can still relax on Monday. So I think it's a very good idea. I think it opens things up quite nicely for the town of Neepawa, for people not just from the town, but outlying communities as well to come in and to experience it as well. So I hope it goes over well. We are going to be there ourselves in person to sort of see and experience it. I'm sure we're going to have some great pictures and whatnot in a future edition of the Banner Press. And don't forget, actually, NACTV, from what I hear as well, is going to be part of the experience also. From what I hear, they're going to be go down there doing a little bit of shooting for a future edition. So if you're not able to pick up a physical copy of the Banner Press, always stay tuned to NACTV and check your local listings. You'll be able to see it live and in living color. All right, now that I've done all that, sort of the shilling portion of it, I guess we can do a little more. We got a special feature in this week's paper focused on the Neepawa Farmers Senior A hockey team. Their season in the Tiger Hills Hockey League has just come to a close. Their playoffs are going to be starting up this weekend. So we wanted to do a special sort of feature with them, wishing them well and congratulating them on the season that was. And maybe I shouldn't delve into this, but what the hell. Heck, sorry. Pardon my language.
HE double hockey sticks.
Yeah. Now here you can see it here. Now you're going to have to pick up a copy, because from this distance it's a little blurry. But actually, once you pick up a physical copy of the paper, it's going to be blurry as well. For some reason, the page and the picture is extremely blurry. And I got to admit, I have no idea why. Other pages in the paper are sort of crisp, clean for the most part. And this one, you're sort of seeing double vision here. That's the reality of a physical copy of a newspaper from time to time. The printing press gets misaligned and it misprints some pages. I'm a little disappointed that it happened on this one. This is a special thing we do every year, very similar to what we do for the Neepawa Tigers high school hockey team, for the Neepawa Titans. I'll be honest with you, I went back and looked at the page because I built that page and I took that picture, and Diane put together the ads on there, and I thought, oh, did I screw this up? Yeah. Sometimes the most obvious answer is the correct one. So the most obvious answer for me was, oh wait, did I mess this up? And I looked at it and I couldn't find anything wrong with it. Nothing wrong with the picture. When you go on to mywestman.ca and you open up the PDF of it, you'll see it crystal clear. Very sharp picture. But for some reason, it's just that it's the way it was. So I apologize to the farmers. We'll have to check in with our printer and see what happened on that. And hopefully, no matter what, you'll go out this weekend. They got a game on Sunday. playoff game on Sunday. Hopefully you go out there and support the farmers in their endeavors. We're pretty much done. There's so much more we could have talked about, but that's why you need to pick up a physical copy of the paper. And don't forget, you can always give us tips by contacting us at 476-3401 or by email at news@neepawabanner.com. We always do appreciate you giving us a call and giving us an email and keeping us in the loop. That's about it for this week. Casper, thank you very much as always.
Yeah, thanks again for having me here. Looking forward to another one.
And of course, thank you as always for being a loyal and consistent viewer of the Story Behind the Stories and NAC TV. Have yourself another fantastic week.